this off.
And we are now live on Facebook again. And Aftab has run away.
I'm here.
We'll just give it a few moments for a few people to join in. And if they don't join in, we'll crack on anyway. And then they can join
I'm sure we're going to have a massive audience.
Well, we actually, last week, we had 55 people watching. That was our highest number, and it averaged at about 40, 45 people at any one time, which is really positive for a first one and sort of a go session, as it were, with Bill. With a subject that isn't really that interesting at times. But
I watched it. It was a really good interview, actually. I think Bill was really insightful in terms of giving clear information when people are really worried about what's going on. And I spoke to Bill, or messaged Bill, in the early days when there was obviously the news was breaking about COVID, and people were asking us, is insurance valid? Because kind of given our situation, people do come to us and ask us questions. And I asked Bill, and then Bill came back with quite a comprehensive answer that he let us share out on the various platforms. But unfortunately, it wasn't the thing that most people wanted to hear. But it's the truth. The truth is the truth.
No, you typically find that people will cherry pick the information that they want until they get something they like. But there is lots of good information out there now, and there's lots of positive information out there for the industry, not just doom and gloom of.
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to share the same feed as well, so just give me.
No problem at all. Okay, so if we crack on, thank you again to all of our live viewers and people that are joining in live on Facebook. Don't forget, we can ask questions of Aftab, but I'd like to say a big thank you to Aftab from BCN for joining me today. Aftab, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, how you started, that sort of thing? So obviously a lot of people do know you. They know you as the king of crayons, as Eddie keeps terming you. But what is the real Aftab Ali sort of before BCN and everything else?
Well, my background is in graphic design and brand building. So that's where my speciality lies. And some of those skills you probably see in action on a day-to-day basis, really, around Bouncy Castle Network and a lot of our customer websites as well, and the projects that we do. So basically, I started in 1996 as a junior graphic designer.
Wow.
So I've literally from school, from GCSEs, I did a BTEC National, a HND graphics, did a degree in graphic design, all the way through to my first job, second, fourth, fifth. I just worked my way up through the ranks, and I've never done anything else other than graphic design, marketing, and branding.
Awesome.
It's like that Japanese saying, you hit the nail on the head enough times, it will go in. So, I find my calling in graphics. So I started working, one of my very first projects was for a company called Concept in Liverpool, and I was fortunate enough to be allowed to work on an international brand, which was Kellogg's at the time.
Okay.
And the thing with packaging projects is you are competing for a space that big on a shelf amongst hundreds of other brands. So for me, being able to produce designs that were vibrant, eye-catching, stood out, these were things that were absolutely kind of crucial to being effective in design. So I got to work on projects like that, doing designs for the Camel Laird, the shipbuilders in Liverpool, the Beatles Museum, Suzuki, and I moved on from Liverpool when Hasina was born, my daughter, who works for me now. I wasn't getting enough time to see. It was like a 2-hour drive each way to work in Liverpool at the time. Yeah, but I worked there for 3 years almost. I came back to, at the time, a company in Leeds that was rebranding the Bradford and Bingley Bank, if you remember those.
Yeah, that's remembering back now.
Blast from the past, yeah. So one of my things with Kellogg's was I was part of the team that rebranded Kellogg's from the old cigar band style, which used to have a white band around the top of the boxes, to the current style. So that was my project, rolling that style out to all the new boxes. So that kind of got me a name for myself, really, in terms of branding in the packaging world. So I'd have no problems getting jobs after that. So I did the Bradford and Bingley redesign as well. So they used to have the two guys with the bowler hats. That was their brand. And it then went to a box with 9 hats representing each department inside.
Okay.
And then From there, I went to work for a company called Martin Yaffe International, which is really where the BCN skills, the current BCN skills, come into play. So I used to do all the graphics for Disney. They had a housewares department, toy packaging, websites for all the different types, the early websites using Flash and all that kind of stuff for all the early Disney characters. So that was a really good project. And that company then moved to Rochdale. They used to be based in Swinton at the time. And but as with any job, once you do it for 2 or 3 years, you kind of get stuck in the same routine. So, and this was the early days of the web, and these guys were more of a packaging company rather than pure creative website stuff. And I wanted to push towards the web. So then I was headhunted by a company called Zen Internet, which at the time was only 6 people, and they've been going for about 5 years. Now they employ nearly 600 people.
Wow.
Rochdale. They've won What PC award year on year for the last 14 years as a business broadband provider. Very, very good, very respectable company. Richard Tang, who was the founder of it, is quite a close friend of mine. I actually got arrested for him, which is a different story. But that got me into the world of websites. So my job at Zen was to rebrand Zen. I had a reputation as a brand builder. They wanted to push on. So so that was supposed to be my forever job, looking after the Zen brand. Literally within a week, the job was done. Website's done, branding's done. Because I'd come from a packaging, branding background, deadlines were like a thing for me. So me and my team then proposed a web design department to Zen Internet, and we built what was Zen Web Solutions at the time.
Okay.
And again, with my ability to pitch, do big projects, big branding, we won all the local colleges, all the local councils. We won ICT awards. We beat the BBC and the Guardian news websites at the time with a website we produced for autistic people, which was very, very innovative at the time. So I had at this time was really interesting for me because I had done all the Kellogg stuff, Prestige, Suzuki, Zen. So in almost every store I went to, and probably every store around the world, there was something that I designed inside it. So wherever I went, kids in tow, they were like, "Dad, you designed that, you designed that." And, so it was great. It was great being in a position like that.
Now you drive around the country and you see all the vans around going, "Oh, I designed that brand, I designed that brand."
Absolutely right. It's funny because when you pass through towns and cities, you know, I've got a client that's called Bouncy Castle Hire, so it's really, really cool. But then again, the same thing happened with Zen. After 3 or 4 years, it became very, very repetitive, doing the same kind of thing. And this company had grown to hundreds of staff during that time. And the light bulb started going off in my head a little bit that I could do this for myself. So I had one more job after that. I was poached by another company, a print company. It was very, very hard hit by the internet, and their print revenue had declined massively. So they came on board on a partnership basis. And I was still quite young then, maybe 27 years old, I think I was, so sub 30. And they gave me a quarter of their company, this print firm, and asked me to actually build a complete new design department and a web department. And if I doubled their revenue, I would then get a 50% share in the company. So I did my job within 2 years. I took them from 1 million to 3.5 million turnover business.
Wow.
But the owner at the time kind of had enough of it. He just wanted to retire. I didn't particularly like the new owners. They had different ideas to me. We didn't really get on. And it was at that stage where I decided to start my own business, which is, you know, as Sizzle Web Design.
Yeah.
It's had a few name changes over the years. But that was when we started building quite bespoke projects. Our entry value at the time was 100 grand plus for a website. So this is prior to the credit crunch. So you know, we were doing big numbers. Yeah. So we built probably the fastest growing agency in the Northwest. Won numerous awards. Had 48 staff at the time, and then the credit crunch came, and that was it. The ad revenue stopped overnight, and it was a big crash. So. Some of the posts that you might have seen me make recently have been about me having been through this situation like this before, and it is directly due to that period. So I went from almost a £4 million company to not even doing 40 grand. had to let go of 40 staff. I kept my core team, kept the core customers, and we just battled on through. And I've seen it was a horrible time, to be honest. So I know what people are going through. I know the situation as it is. I felt it. I've been there. I've been through personal bankruptcy as a result. I lost probably £500,000 over a 6-7 year period. But it was through this time that I actually met Eddie. So he had a Bouncy Castle hire company, wanted somebody to design him a website and a booking system. I could do that, Eddie. And the rest is pretty much history, really. So that's my background.
It's a lot more. It's a lot more than people actually see as Aftab, the guy who turns around their proofs and sorts their logos out and everything else. People often forget about the experience behind not just you as one person, but a team within a company talking about BCN.
Yeah.
And it's that team that people are obviously signing up to when they're sort of joining BCN, as it were. Obviously, I'm conscious we don't want to turn this into a sales pitch, and we had a conversation before that it's not about selling; it's about what we can give back to people. So, in terms of BCN, what changes have you had to make? Obviously, you've got quite a big team. You're based in Manchester, isn't it? And is everyone working from home at the moment? I can see you're in the office now.
Yeah. So we're in a shared office.
His permanent holiday over in the States?
No, he's back in the UK. He managed to get himself back here. The last flight, the last 3 seats for him and his family, and he got back safely. We've had to make some changes, quite dramatic ones. So working from home was a big kind of shift for us. Because we're in managed offices, for me and my daughter, it wasn't so much of an issue because the whole place, it's the size of a factory. And it's almost abandoned. So for us to go from home to here and back home again and not meet anybody was okay. And trying to set up 2 workspaces in a single house can be difficult as well. So we made the decision to come into work.
Feeling.
Yeah, and especially when you've got dual screens and phones and the other kids are at home as well. So that was a bigger shock than we expected. Because it's such a reactive, dynamic business where we feed off our customers constantly. 50% of our team is technical support, so there's 6-7 people that are just constantly on the phones, and they're firing questions to me. We're firing questions back. We're dealing with development, design, marketing, testing. Me and Eddie are always negotiating deals with our providers. So it's a very noisy, very busy environment, and you kind of get used to that. And now, me and Eddie are spending most of our time on the phone, literally starting from the morning, checking up with people, who's doing what, and then answering some of their questions. So it's more phone time than it is actually kind of doing time. But when I do get a break, I can really get to work and produce some things that can help our customers at the same time. So it's been a bit of a shock, but that's been the biggest change for us. We've not laid off any staff. We've not had to furlough any staff. It's been business as usual in that sense, but obviously with social distancing and some of our staff are actually high risk. They have asthma and things like that, so we have to implement that at the first stage.
And have pretty much every other single business in the country at the moment, and it's good that you're able to adapt and you can still access the systems. You can still obviously support the staff and everything.
Yeah.
Obviously, hires at the moment, one of the biggest worries hires have got is the fact that we are on lockdown as such in terms of restricted movement. Hopefully Boris is going to say some interesting things on Sunday. We're all got our fingers crossed for some positivity, really. Obviously, what's BCN been doing? I've seen that there's been various graphics posted online. What have you been doing at BCN to sort of help, and where can people access those things? Both, I know you've posted some to non-members as well, isn't it? There's not just
yeah, absolutely.
BCN.
I mean, it's not gone down well with all of our customers, the fact that we share our information as freely as we have been. But we only really do this when there's an issue. So some examples are like when the weather's been bad in previous higher seasons, we made some graphics to, bad weather graphics that people can use. And we make those available to everybody. It makes for a safer working industry.
I agree.
When we had those fatalities, the unfortunate fatalities a few years ago, we made, everybody chipped in, and I was basically the graphic conduit to make documentation for people. And when that sealed unit blew up and the young girl died on there, we were on the phones ringing people. So this is just another one of those instances where we have a team. They're good on the phones, they're good with graphics, they're technical people. We can lend our support and help people, get through this. So a lot of it has been on the phone with customers. So they're ringing up concerned about the state of the industry, their business. And because we're kind of central, we deal with the manufacturers, suppliers, insurance companies, the customers as well. We have a unique perspective on what's going on. And because we're a kind of global provider now as well, we have the higher view that you have. You can see trends across the globe. It's actually really interesting when you get into the kind of the granular level stuff. So you can almost see things coming. So we've obviously been sharing graphics. I've been busy creating graphics, sharing marketing ideas. And again, there's people for and against hiring and not hiring. But that's the hirer's decision.
That's what I said last week. Is I have my own opinion on it. Other people have their opinion. We've just got to look at the facts and look at doing things safely if they are going to do it. That's why we had a chat with Bill last week.
Yeah. So I've been trying to facilitate both sides of the argument for providing graphics for people who don't want to hire and want to, almost like pause their businesses for the time being, and the ones that do want to hire. And there has been information, people like Richard Wilkinson and Lee from Better Bouncy who've been gathering information, collating information, sharing it. There's other hirers as well that I've spoken to their like environmental officers.
Yeah.
They've got some guidelines in place, so we can't ignore that kind of information.
No, not.
And us being kind of businesses marketing support and guides, our job is to produce those graphics, and for people to use them, because that's what they need right now. Not everybody wants to stay at home, and and the cases of COVID aren't as evident in some places as they are in others. So
there's definitely hotspots around the country.
Yeah, so some places there's hardly any, some places there is. So you've got to cater for everybody. So graphics and marketing is really what we've been putting out. We've had to create new tools on the fly. So we released a module today, which is a buffer zone for hires.
Yeah, I saw that. Tell me about that, because that's a bit of a sort of game changer in terms of, there's been a lot of talk about how long a unit should be shelved after hire and things like that. Now, this, from my understanding, from what I've read, this actually it basically allows people to quarantine units essentially for a certain period of time after a hire.
That's exactly what it does, in a more intelligent way, because our system's so kind of intricate. You can have packages and parent and child and all these mapped relationship kind of setups, and every hirer has their own unique way of working. It's got to cater for a lot of variations in the way people set up their products. So we try to capture as much of it as we can. You can't capture everything, but exactly it is a quarantine for the products. Some of the posts that we've said where people are still hiring, one of the requirements has been that item is not hired out again for a period of time. Might be a day, 2 days, 3 days, 7 days, 5 days, whatever it is.
The system allows you to change that period of time according to whatever your own risk assessment says.
So small products, for example, like a buzz wire you might have hired out, that can be wiped down, quite easily and put back out to hire again. A bouncy castle might take a day to clean, to put aside, but just to be extra safe, you can park it. If there's any remaining germs, they can break down and kind of destroy themselves. Obstacle courses obviously take a lot longer to clean.
They're much bigger on it. That's the thing.
So you've got that flexibility. Then you go up to 99 days really. So that's something that we really released. We've got a few other tools that are coming soon, which also tie into this thing. So we've earlier on this year, maybe the back end of last year, we've launched disclaimers. So the digital disclaimers.
For the signature bit, that's just launched, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we've got that now on. So we had it on the disclaimers, and we used to do a roaring trade in disclaimer pads at one time. But since we launched that, it's been absolutely dead. But that's an expense that we take on as a business, because environmentally friendly as well. But that's the way the industry
improves the system at the end of the day.
Yeah, and we've got to move with that as well. And that's actually that whole system in itself is going to be put on steroids very, very soon. So next week we'll be launching a teaser about
okay.
Yeah,
we're not gonna release all your golden nuggets, as it were, before you've actually got them all signed off and working, ready to go. So obviously, I can imagine that obviously it's a difficult time for hirers. They're worried about their revenue, they're worried about their income. Obviously, there's the new bounce back loan which was launched this week, which I've got to say is brilliant from a point of view we've been able to access as a company. So anybody out there that is looking for the quick finance, and honestly look at the government websites, because that's really worth looking at. I can't believe how simple it was. But have many people been ringing up, obviously cancelling their websites? Now, I know what my personal opinion is, but what do you think about cancelling their shop front, essentially? Bringing the shutters down, closing their shop front? It's clearly not a wise thing to do, is it?
There was an initial shockwave that went through the industry with COVID-19. Obviously, it was very sudden. A lockdown means no revenue for anybody, and I think that lasted literally about 2 or 3 days. So we were getting lots of calls from people who wanted to cancel, but when you actually explain the situation, what they actually have, what they've built, your average hirer, let's say our average customer, has been with us 3 or 4 years. And the amount of time that they've invested in their website, it's hundreds, thousands of hours probably, and thousands of hours saved with the tools that we provide. And then to cancel that, or to turn that, or to disable that business, that your main form of income, to save £25, £50, £100 maybe. Let's look at it as a 3-month period. To save £150 to me is not good business sense. Yeah, it's a time for you to really reinvest in your business. They say when you're struggling, market; when you're prospering, market. We don't stop. We've had a financial hit from it, but that doesn't stop us marketing. This is where our expertise and specialities come into play, and our experience from our own knocks that we've had over the years. That this is when you knuckle down, and if you can get through this period, then you're going to emerge much stronger as a business, more resilient as a person, and more resilient as a business, because your processes and your mettle as a person is going to be tested. There are people that did cancel, generally people who were struggling anyway, because if you look at it from a global span, for example, Australia was at the end of their season, so they're flush with money. Europe was kind of doing okay; they get a bit better weather than us, so they already have some money. We generally have a very short season, so it caught us at the absolute worst time that it could have. It's literally about to start hiring. You're all spent up for Christmas. You've got a lot. Some people don't bank their money over winter. They just spend as they go. So I think good business practices will come in going forward. But in America, zero impact, because they are now experiencing that lockdown period now, and it was very short, and they're coming out of it. So it varies country to country, state to state, town to town. So it wasn't as bad as we thought it would be, but cancelling a service, your primary source of income is like
suicide,
cutting off your own head.
It's suicide. I know from our point of view, we've been putting money into the website, and obviously we're in talks about a whole new website design. We've brought a copywriter in, or a content writer, to write content for us, and we're spending a lot of money on developing our website and using this time to sort of come out of it the other side a bit stronger.
A lot of people don't realise they have so many tools within their system that your average Bouncy Castle hire probably uses about 10 or 20% of the tools we have available. But there is so much more in there, so much more in terms of you can filter data, you can approach customers, you can bracket customers together, market them specifically, find hot prospects. And with my background in marketing, all those tools that I've used over the years are in this system. There's a marketing foundation that all businesses should be built on, and those tools plus many others are in that system. If you take the time to break away from what you might be feeling in terms of negative terms. Look at what you have in front of you. Look at the potential opportunity, the tools, and then use them to really drive your business forward. And we've seen some amazing results from people, how they've diversified over the last month, 6 weeks. And they've definitely emerged stronger. At the end of the day, Bouncy Castle hires are entrepreneurs. They know how to work hard. They know how to work smart. You have a very, very technically advanced system that's been developed in many, many different industries. Lots of expertise brought in to for the Bouncy Castle hire industry. So, use those features. Ring us and ask us about what those features are. What's in our system that if you don't know, what can we use that can help you kind of catapult your business forward? And there's certainly a lot of people who do, and you'll see them in the Facebook groups where they're always sharing information. People like Spencer Elliott, for example, he's been releasing really, really cool tools.
He has,
like amazing things, amazing little widgets that came off the back of a graphic that I produced actually, and where I was asking people to use Photoshop to replace the logo and whatnot, and he magicked up a little widget that would overlay stuff, which has been so useful. And again, just doing it because he's supporting the industry, and we've seen a lot of that.
Did he release? I know he had one widget that he was charging for, but there was a lot of free tools that he's launched as well, hasn't he?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And people could go on his timeline and see what he's been doing. But really useful little things that can help fortify your brand. So there's lots you can do in terms of marketing. I'm big on it, as you can see with what I do at Bouncy Castle Network, and I'm as busy as anybody else, and I can find time to do it. The thing that annoys me most is when customers say to us, "It's not working," or "There's a problem." When I go to the website to have a look, I can see they've not done anything. Right? Yeah, so we help out where we can, and when they do those things, then they start seeing results, and that kickstarts them into actually, taking the website seriously. But the tools are there. Use them or ask us for help. We're here to help them.
So if people use software out there for people, if they want to edit their own photographs, their own backgrounds, their own things, are there any? Obviously, Photoshop's quite expensive for people. What else would you recommend that people can use that may be a bit easier to use as well?
There's quite a few options out there, actually. I mean, Paint, as basic as it is quite good to cobble together basic graphics.
Microsoft Paint, the old Microsoft Paint.
Yeah. There's one called GIMP, which is not the suit. There's some software out there called GIMP, and I think there's a GIMP 2 as well. I know Joe Baker uses that quite a lot for his graphics, and he does some pretty colourful stuff. But I've only ever used Photoshop. I used Photoshop as version 1.
Show your age now.
Yeah. So it was. And now we've got the world's moved on in terms of tablet devices, mobiles. So there's a whole array of apps out there as well now that Canvas and. Like I said, I only use Photoshop, but even if you go to the App Store and look for an image editing tool, there is literally hundreds out there which are free. And some are very specific. You can create collages, but if you go into the back of the Bouncy Castle Network admin system, there's a section there within the support guides that has some links to some of these free tools that you can use to edit graphics. But for me, there's nothing better than Photoshop.
I have to agree, because that's what I've always used is Photoshop, and but yeah, there obviously there are other systems out there.
It's down to your business. It's down to your business what you want to do. I know there's guys that use Photoshop and are very good at it. It's what level of creative skills you have to start with, because Photoshop is a very powerful tool. If you just want to make a basic banner, there's online free resources where you can go and kind of compile graphics. Just Google, some graphics making softwares. But yeah, there's lots of options there. For me, it has to be something professional because of the nature and the speed and the work groups that we have. We have to be able to share files, open files, edit things quickly on the fly, and for me, it's got to be something like that.
Obviously, people's websites, as we talked about, are their shop front. One of the hardest things for me personally is it's great that you can produce a phenomenal design, but the physical content is what I personally struggle with. There's so many times that you can say this bright, colourful, amazing bouncy castle, or this energetic assault course, or whatever descriptive text it may be.
Yeah.
Have you got any hints or tips for people out there who are struggling to write content for their website without going and copying their competitors, because that's what you don't want to do from an SEO point of view?
No, copying content is never a good idea, but there's an inherent structure in writing content. So there's writing content for a good explanation about something, and Google recognizes this. But there's also a certain format that is particular to every single website. So there isn't one single format of content writing. Google's much more sophisticated than we think it is. So content is, in my opinion, it's not been verified by any facts, is site-specific style, right? So you're a particular type of business, Magic Air Inflatables, a particular type of business, a particular type of product, and a particular type of style, and you will be recognized for that, I think, by Google with your style of writing. So if you find that your website is ranking for a particular page, then that is a good indication of what Google likes about your format of text. That might be your structure in terms of your H1 tags, your headline, your opening paragraph, second, third paragraph. Really look to see and compare what is it about that particular page that makes sense to Google for your website. Because I get people asking me all the time, well, so-and-so's website ranks really well, why mine doesn't? I've done everything right and they've just stuffed the crap at it with keywords. I was, yes, but let's find out a page that does rank. And when you compare a page that does rank to a page that they're trying to rank, the differences become very, very obvious. So you take that format, and so the way I write content is there'll be an opening paragraph about the products. So I try to mix in fun, facts, and features. So fun will be, this is a particular product, this is how it can be used, it's awesome, it's colorful, blah, blah, blah. Fact. For example, if you're going for a location page, you want to do Bouncy Castle Higher Wales. So I would find something very, very specific about your location of your delivery address. Go and check it out on Wikipedia and see what feature your town or location has as a landmark, as a park or something, and then try and tie that into your content as a second paragraph.
Okay.
Yeah, so this might be particularly that kind of landmark. We deliver to this particular area, which is also known for these features, these landmarks, this amount of population. We've got this university, some famous actors that might have come from this place, etc., etc. Maybe a link to a couple of resources. And then at the end of it, you want to go down to the features of your actual products, which is, this is what our product is physically. This is what it does. You get so many people on it. This is, how safe it is, those kind of things. And then at the end of it, I always say to people as well, within your content, try and tag in a few of the products. For example, this 30-foot assault course was so awesome, but if that's too big for you, maybe you want to try and look at this smaller one. And within the BCN system, you can highlight a word and you can make a link to another product from that, and it all manages it all that for you. Even in the future, when you decide to change names of things, it stitches it all together.
Automatically changes it on the BCN system.
Right. Yeah, so categories pages, it intelligently works all that kind of stuff out for you. So, and the other thing is, don't try and write all your content at the same time, because you're just going to fatigue yourself. If you're running out of ideas, just stop. Just stop, give it a couple of days, and then come back to it again. And I always advise people to write content piecemeal. So do a page, focus on that, or a page that's not quite working. Implement some of these changes into it, see how it ranks, and then if it starts to work, then tweak it a little bit more. Starts to work, tweak it a bit more till you get it to where you want it to be, and then apply that to other pages. Find what works for your website. Don't go out looking at what other people are doing. Look what works for you. What's your language? What style have you used in your website? What's Google recognizing? Yeah. Look at it from Google's point of view. When Google hits your website, it starts its scan. It's going to see your headline. Is that headline just some long string of towns and search terms, or is it something relevant? what's in your first text? Is my search term, is it highlighted? How I made it bold? Do my products link to other pages? And by linking to other pages, you're giving Google the ability to kind of scatter throughout your website really, really quickly, rather than going through one page at a time, trying to find your website. The more cross-link, not the more, but relevant cross-links to other products and other categories will help Google just flash around your website really, really quickly and pick all that information up. So in terms of writing good content, just be structured. It's not always about using high-powered words and fun and awesome. You can be find your language and then just get that model and then just repeat it throughout your website, and that will lead you to rank better, more bookings, more money.
Okay, and in terms of, you mentioned about obviously finding out how pages are ranking, what tools would you recommend for doing that?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, one other thing on the content side of things. All this information is explained in detail in some of the guides that we've got in the back end of the admin systems. So if you go there, I've written a guide on almost all aspects of content writing. So use this time, if you are quiet and not hiring, study those guides about writing content. There's examples have been set for that. So I'll add that in. Sorry, I don't know
what tools would you use for looking at how you're ranking? What advice there?
There's a lot of tools out there, but they cost quite a lot of money, to be honest. From $100 to hundreds of dollars, based on what you're planning on doing. There's SEO Moz is quite a well-known one, and they have a suite of tools that you can use. A lot of the free ones aren't very good. They're based on location-based stuff, so that business, their servers might be based in Canada, which is where a lot of them are based, or in Silicon Valley, and you're trying to do a search in Rochdale, where I'm from. Your results are going to be a little bit skewed. So for me personally, I think it's just the hard way, which is go into an incognito mode on your website, spin up a new browser, type in your keyword, and see where you rank in your location. You're in Wales, you want to know what your results are in Wales. What somebody sees in London is going to be different. Google's very location centric for both mobile and for desktop view. So you need to make sure that your searches are relevant to you. There's no point looking elsewhere. Just look what your business is doing in your catchment area. If you're a national business, then obviously you need probably more sophisticated tools, but then you can afford those, like Ahrefs is probably a good one. But that's
very expensive. Ahrefs.
Yeah. Or you can employ the services of proper SEO companies, and they can generate reports for you. But again, none of this stuff comes for free. People are a little bit spoiled because with the BCN system, you get all these amazing tools for next to nothing. But then, one tool that is used to provide you with search engine results for one keyword might cost you $100 a month. So yeah, the hard way is using
invest into their websites and what it really means to them. So obviously, you mentioned earlier about trends within the industry. I know back in the summer last year, you would put posts up saying there's been X number of million bookings, etc. On the system over across the board. Are you seeing now that we're starting, not coming out of the lockdown, but starting to see a bit more positivity around things? Are you starting to see an increase of bookings in the industry? Obviously, you guys get a lot of data from that point of view. Is it still all doom and gloom? Are the websites still completely inactive, or are people actually starting to make bookings on the systems now?
No, it's not doom and gloom at all, to be honest. So again, if I refer back to my earlier comment about when you look at it from a much higher level, it's almost like a satellite view of the world and the pattern across it as to what's going on. So you can see changes literally from New Zealand working its way across the globe to what's going on in the UK to the US and North America, and even we've got some customers in South America now. So you can see where it's dipped and where it's going. It's literally like a wave going through the world. And the UK in particular, which is obviously of most interest to us, there was a very, very sharp decline. When that lockdown was announced, and probably about a week before, when coronavirus started coming on board, people started getting scared, much like when the news headlines were against the Bouncy Castle industry. All of a sudden, it was cancellations, drops. Yeah, it was very, very bad. And we were expecting, based on last year's March figures, to have around 60,000 bookings going through our system. Literally after that first week, it went down to 24. Second week, when people were actually sat at home, it went down to 9,000. This is across the entire of the UK. Should be 60,000. And then at its lowest went to 7,000. And then since last week, I would say, well, not since last week, the week before, when more information started becoming available from people like Richard, sharing information about the facts that are coming back from the environmental agencies within certain councils, then people don't comment on some of these posts, but they take inspiration for them. Yeah, so they take on board the knowledge, and sometimes with these groups as well, you get shot down for speaking up sometimes. So that made an impact in terms of people started hiring. There were people still hiring that just didn't stop. They just carried on, worked about in a more safer way. And now I think I've not checked today, but we checked on Tuesday, and it was back up to about 24,000 for this month, which is normally you see about 75,000 in around this time, April, May. But there's definitely a spike, and it's increasing quite quickly. And I think a lot of that is just because there's more awareness. People are being a bit more careful. They are trying to hire again. And to be honest, the government's left a lot of our Bouncy Castle hire customers out to dry in terms
they've left them out on a limb. They haven't really given any clear direction. They've said play centres should close and that sort of thing, but actually it isn't relevant to us because we're in a completely different industry. I agree with
between kind of leisure and fun and somewhere in between. So we're almost in like a grey area. But there is, but people are, so maybe out of desperation, or maybe that they just feel safer doing it now that they have more protocols to follow, some actual guidelines. So there's definitely an upswing now. We can see that both in the UK and in the US. That took a slight dip as well, but they're getting back to business like there's no tomorrow. Over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The thing is, the market in the US is always been a lot stronger, isn't it? Obviously, from going to IAPA, I see what the Americans will go to a show with 200 grand in $200,000 to spend, and they want to spend every single penny at the show. It's a very different mentality to the UK market. Yeah,
the Australians are the same as well. They take a pride in their work. Not that the UK people don't, but they take a pride in value in the sense that they charge big money for big products. It's for example, an inflatable and obstacle course here might be 350 quid, 400 quid for a big one. You can add another zero on there for the US and America. So for them, the impact of shutting down for a month isn't so great. They've got the funds to be able to cope with that. They've got the cash flow for it. And you're right. When you go to the US, they do. In the US, in particular, some people take pride in actually charging as much as they can get away with, in the fact that we are providing value. And for them, the hires are different because they have tents and chairs. We call them gazebos here, but they have tents and chairs that go out with most hires. And it's usually not just an inflatable on its own, it's a whole party package. You'd have like hog roast.
Range of offerings the Americans tend to do.
Yeah, I know bigger products, bigger space, they can hire bigger items.
Yeah, I know some of the hires in the UK will do table chairs with big smartphones and things, but the Americans certainly take that to another level, whereas we tend to leave it to the marquee boys to put in the sort of infrastructure. I know from our hire company point of view, we do a lot of event furniture, we call it, a lot of table chairs, giant deck chairs, small deck chairs, that sort of thing, and that does very well for us. So in terms of, we mentioned IAPA, obviously we're not sure if IAPA said they're going ahead as planned at the moment. Are you guys exhibiting at EAS, the sort of the European attractions in London, or are you giving that one a miss in September?
We'll probably go to visit. we're not quite sure what's happening with the trade shows yet. IAPA has been a bit more clear with EAS because it's in the UK and the industry that we're in. I mean, you obviously heard about Leisure Supply Show not going ahead this year. Because of if even if we do get a strong bounce back, people are really going to be recouping their funds. They're really going to spend that money on products.
I think it's the nice thing they've done really with postponing that.
Yeah, so that was I think a smart decision on their part, and for the manufacturers as well, because they would have ended up exhibiting, and then it'd be nice to meet customers. It always is, but the sales probably would have been not warranted the investment. And I think it's the same with EAS. It'd be good to have a walk around, but in terms of exhibiting, we've not really got that many left in the UK in terms of people that don't use our system or don't know
the UK market, aren't you, really?
Yeah, or don't know about us. Whether they decide to use us or not, that's their choice. But they all know who we are and they know where to come if they want to use our services. So an exhibition like that's very expensive to attend.
I had some quotes for a stand, and I think we nearly fell through the floor.
Yeah, and we need
Orlando again.
Sorry, Alan.
Are you doing Orlando again?
The plan to, yes. We've actually booked our hotels already, Staybridge Suites, and that's on International Drive. And we're going to be taking a similar size stand to what we had last year, but we're going to bring our A game this time. Yeah, we did really well last year. It's an amazing experience, and I think for the UK hirers, if you can afford to go, it's worth going just to have a look and to speak to the US hirers, because you go. A lot of the kind of southern hirers go there as well. They treat it as a bit of a holiday as well at the same time. But you see groups of people walking around from the UK, but you can see how they're inspired by it. And these guys are some of the people that we look up to in the industry. Who've got some of the larger hire fleets, and you can see when they're there. What they take away in terms of ideas, inspiration, then you can see them being implemented in the UK, which other people then take inspiration from them, and it kind of filters down. But to go to events like this, meet the American hirers, how they work, and share ideas, and there's a lot of sharing going on now in the BCN groups, because there's obviously quite a few American hirers in there as well, and they're kind of leaning on the UK, just curious as to see what are these guys doing over here? And they have their own groups as well. But that sharing of ideas, I think, is vital for the UK industry. For it to come from what I consider when we first did the first booking system for Eddie, for his business, for what he used to charge at that time to what people are charging now. I think it's a real shame that people that haven't got the confidence to just up their prices a little bit, and then and everybody would be in a much more comfortable situation. I agree. Think race to the bottom is not a good thing.
I have lots of conversations with our customers, and obviously I'm friendly with lots of the hirers as well in my area, and I keep saying put the price up, because people are coming in so cheap, and it is unfortunate that people think that in order to prosper you need to be the cheapest and the busiest, but actually that isn't the case. If you actually charge a little bit more, you give a better service. You're not so stressed. You're not running around like a blue ass fly, as it were, on a Saturday afternoon, and you can actually have that time to get a better service.
That theory of being the cheapest doesn't show success in any industry really, apart from fast food maybe. But we're not a fast food industry. We're providing a service. We're a service-based industry, and people will pay for service. And there's numerous reports and studies that show if people have confidence in your product, they have confidence in your service, they have confidence in you as individuals, the price is like 4th, 5th, 6th down, the ladder. And especially with Bouncy Castle Hirers, if you're in a particular area, there's only 4 or 5 of you, and one guy wants to do it at 20 quid. Once he's booked out, he's booked out. Then you're going to get the other booking. There's more than one person who's going to want a Bouncy Castle or any product in any given area. This idea that somebody's stealing your business and we have to undercut is, I think, a misconception.
I agree, definitely, 100%.
Marketing and having brand value and reaching out to your customers. I mean, we offered during this crisis, we gave our customers colouring sheets to do and implementing flash games into their websites for them to reach out to their customers. That would have been a very, very effective brand building exercise for our guys to reach out to their customers and build that brand. Because when it comes to time to booking, they're not going to look at your price. You know, they're going to be cooped up and they're going to want to party and have fun, or however, whether it's a stay-at-home party or whether restrictions are going to be relaxed enough for people to meet family members. Then they're going to use you guys. You've been feeding them information, providing their kids with entertainment, both on paper colouring sheets and all these flash games, making posts about them, offering you support, staying in touch, sending it. Well, I've been asking our customers to message their customers when it is their birthday, if they have cancelled a party, or if something's gone. So, you know, your party would have been today. We just wanted to congratulate you on, and we hope you're having a good time at home. And these kind of little messages, they mean so much to people. I get it from customers who we share these graphics with, and some of the messages I get back from people, you know, they choke you up a little bit that you've made a difference to somebody. And for you, it was 10 minutes work. For them, it's like somebody's actually reached out and offered to help. It makes a difference.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree. So in terms of, we're nearly coming to the end of this. If anyone has got any questions, obviously feel free to pop them in the comments box. But if you could, obviously, if you could give hirers one piece of advice that they take away from this chat, what would it be? What would that one golden nugget be that you can give people?
I would say I would refer them back to the website. Spend that time on your website. Really scrutinize it. Look through it. You know, there's a team here to fix the problems that you might be having. You're not going to get a time period like this again, where you're going to have apart from winter, but you know, around this time where you're going to have 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, where you can really invest time in your website. I've had messages from people where they're spending more time, more than a 9-to-5 job now, looking at their websites, going through it in absolute detail, spell checking it again and again and again, taking better pictures. When this is all over, and you know, touch wood, it'll be over, you know, soon, then your website is going to be your most valuable asset. You know, people have got used to now doing everything online, working remotely, using Zoom, browsing for websites, shopping online, getting their groceries online. We've switched from maybe online, yeah, sometimes, to now completely doing everything on a remote basis. So them online booking systems, get them switched on, get those bookings coming in if you're booking. If you're not, then again, that's your decision. And we've got tools in there where you can turn things on and off and accordingly. But really study your business and study what's gone on. If your business has suffered during this time, why has it suffered? What can you do better next year? Just immerse yourself in your own business and your website and the industry. You know, just really take a good look about what you could have done and be real with yourself. We're being real with ourselves here at BCN. There's things that we could have done better. We could have shored up our finances better. You know, we could have been better prepared in terms of working from home. Hopefully, you know, we'll never be in a crisis like this again. You know, nobody will wish it on anybody, but you have to be brutally honest with yourself and just address the elephants in the room and just deal with it.
That's an awesome way of putting it. I agree. I totally 100% agree. If nobody's got any questions, I'd just like to take the opportunity to say thank you, Aftab, for joining me for just under an hour to chat about all things website and bits and bobs. If anyone does want to get hold of Aftab, I'm sure they can find you on Facebook as Aftab Ali. And if you haven't managed to get anyone converted over to the dark side with BCN, I'll pop the website on the screen there so you can go and find the website. Have a little look at the portfolio just underneath there, because they look after my personal hire website as well as lots of my friends and things as well. But Aftab, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure chatting to you. Now, guys, thank you for those watchers. We've actually had a steady stream of watchers the entire time. So don't forget, every Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. That's obviously British 6:30 if you've got any watchers from overseas. Next week, I'm going to confirm exactly who I've got. I'm just waiting for one more thing to confirm. But if it comes off, it'll be a bit of a talker for you. As always, if you've got any questions, drop us a message. If you've got any questions afterwards for Aftab, find him on Facebook or drop BCN a message. I'm sure they can help you out. Until then, stay safe, everyone, and hopefully enjoy the weather this weekend.
Thank you. Stay safe, everybody. Thank you very much, Adam.